Okay, so Thursday your discussion post was a paired t-test, which I told you, but just so you understand, most of our paired t-tests are going to, when you have a certain reason to put the two different scores together. So like this case, you have a starting time with sprinter number 1 that's with blocks and a standing start, and then with sprinter number 2, so it's the same person doing it two different ways. So you would of course make sense to pair up their times. If I take a random sample of 30 people and then a random sample of another 30 people, there's no reason to pair up those 30, groups. You would calculate the mean and then find the difference in the means. This is you find the difference and then find the mean of all those differences. So that's the difference between them. Okay, so this sprinters typically use starting blocks because they think it will help them run faster. To test this belief, an experiment was designed where each sprinter on a track team ran a 50-meter dash 2 times, once using starting blocks and once using a standing start. The order of the 2 different times of starts was determined at random for each sprinter. So that's your randomized experiment because they were randomly put into which one. And the time in seconds for 8 different sprinters was, and there's your 8 different sprinters. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to say that this is a paired t-test. Okay, and we're going to do blocks minus standing. So this is the B equals block start and S equals standing start. Okay, so when we look at this, our HO, if there's no difference in the two of them, then the mean of B minus S would be equal to 0. Then they're saying that they think the blocks help them. So therefore, if it helps them, their time would be smaller. So if you take blocks minus starting, and this is lower, you would have lower minus higher. Okay, so lower minus higher usually will give you a negative answer. Okay, now a lot of times they're asking you to do it in the way that would make it positive. So if that was the case, you would then just go back and say, okay, wait a second, I need to do standing minus block, and then I need to change that everywhere. So I would have standing minus block, and then this would be standing minus block, which would be higher now, minus lower, okay, which would make it a positive number. If it's a positive number, is it going to be greater than or less than 0? And of course, if it's higher minus lower, it's a positive number, and a positive number, is going to be greater than 0. Okay? Okay, so now we are going to need to do our conditions. So in this case, our conditions for a paired test start out with random assignment, which means no 10% rule. Oh, that was a highlighter. Oops. Okay, then since n is 8, which is definitely not greater than or equal to 30, it doesn't say anything about being normally distributed, so we need to draw a graph of the differences. So before we do that, we should go ahead and put these in our calculator and get the differences. So I'm going to pause this, you do so as well, and put your with blocks in list, actually switch them. Put your standing start in list 1 and your blocks in list 2. So you want to make sure you do this in list 1 and this in list 2, and then we'll come back. Okay, now you can definitely subtract each one of these numbers, or you can go up in the top in list C, and under where it says equal to, right next to it in that block, you want to go ahead and type A minus B, so that it will subtract them all. And then you should get all of your subtractions. And then we're going to go ahead and put this on a dot plot. So the easiest way would be to go ahead and label this list C as the sprint or times. We'll just name it times. Doesn't really matter which name it, as long as you remember to name it. And then remember it's control plus page. Add data and statistics to get your graph. Click down the bottom, choose times, and it'll give you your dot plot. So, in this case, your lowest number, your lowest difference is negative 0.08. So on the calculator it's done negative 0.10, and then 0, and then 0.10, 0.20, and 0.30. So then we have 0.08. The next one is 0.02. And then it's 0.10. And then it's 0.11. And then it's 0.16. And then it's 2.3, 2.6, and 2.8. So when you look at that, there's no extreme outliers, there's no skewedness, it's all just flat. So graph shows no strong skew or outliers. Okay, and this is the difference, S minus B in times. Okay, so we've done our conditions, and now we're going to go ahead and go to calculate.